There's another question from Professor Surbhi Gadkari. She's with BNCA. So she's asking, you involved a lot of artisans in the process. Do you specifically make a separate attempt to involve regional artisans? And how does it work? It's a give and take process. How does it work in terms of involving these people?
So, sometimes we involve people. Sometimes people become the inspiration for the design, right? So, for example, in the case of the Bhunga inspiration, we were inspired. So step number one, as Manik said earlier, we not only look for materials around the region, we also look at what is the context. Like when you all teach your students, the first 2 weeks they go to site and they learn about context and they interview families and we do measure drawings and we find out the history. So we do exactly the same still, right? And then sometimes we will find opportunity where we can revive communities or make their cause public. And sometimes we will be inspired. Right. So we got the Kansaras so a lot of the folding, like maybe 5 or 6 modules in the cotton steel folding were done by machines. But then all the junctions were all unique. Right. So we got some Kansaras, set them up on the site, and those unique junctions were all folded by them. Okay. And we actually had to use architects to try to translate which one of those 1700 points they had to fold, and what did they have to achieve in that, and how much folding did they have to do. But the bulk of it was done by machines. Okay, specific unique junctions were done by people, right? But the Bhungas, we were just so inspired with learning that they actually create identity with the mirror work. It's not just decoration. So the child knows I have to run to this hut because he's used to that pattern language on his hut. Otherwise, all the round huts, how does he go? Right. So, this is, and then the client desired a certain identity, and it was on a bare highway. So this work had to be iconic and make sense on a highway. Otherwise, I might as well have made it in a factory shed. Right. So then we got inspired, and I believe that we will play a role when this project is seen, because it finished just less than a year ago. So when this is seen globally, hopefully, I'm hoping it will be seen globally, this art will percolate into the mind space of the world, and it will find another interpretation other than just clothes. Fashion designers have done a great job of it, but it will find another medium. And then
others will want to replicate it. Yes.
Yeah, and it will find more and more interpretations and more employment of these craftsmen. So maybe for my mirrors, I couldn't employ them. But then I think I played a role in spreading the idea of the craft. So sometimes it's idea, sometimes it's people, but it comes from the same kind of context that the professors, contextual studies and analysis that the professors teach the students in architecture school.
Yeah, that we keep telling them, but unless they see your work, they won't really take it seriously, I think. There's a question by Ayushi. She's saying, thank you, ma'am, for wonderful projects shown. You spoke about net zero buildings. How easy is it to maintain them?
Very easy, because if there is hardly any equipment in it, then obviously it's much easier to maintain. I don't think there is any connection between maintenance and going net zero. In fact, if any at all, the lesser air conditioning you have, the lesser disasters you will have in that some equipment fails, something happens, the lesser chillers, the lesser generator sets. Obviously, it's easier to maintain. So, So I'm not saying that we shouldn't have, by the way, I'm totally for modern day requirements. So I'm not saying that the building should not be air conditioned and we should go back to vernacular architecture. I think you have to create an architecture which is right for the time and right for the function of that time. So if my client requires a fully centrally air conditioned building, of course he or she requires it. But how to minimize the energy load and to touch the earth lightly, as Glenn Merkel said,
So I think that you showed very well at the start of the first project itself, and also Manish showed the first project where the building itself was acting as a shade for the whole ground, and I think that's where it was not troubling the ground much, but yet creating a space, which is very good. Yeah, those were the questions that we've got. I have a personal last question to ask. While you are trying to integrate these sustainable ideas and technology together, and which I personally feel is very seamless, do you think you have to use your creative liberty a little extra than the client requirement? As in, do you really not always follow that client brief, but try and not compromise on your ethos of designing? Do you push your design ethos a little on the client?
A lot. I think why would somebody not want a more sustainable building? Like, what is the reason? Like, there is no reason, right?
True.
Because a more sustainable building will always save money. So whether they're a believer in sustainability or not, as long as it saves money, it's good. So I never meet a client with whom I can explain to them that and explain it technically. Like, get all the engineering on board, get the MEP calculations, get the heat loads, say this is a saving. So why would anybody not? Then if within their budget, within their aspiration, you can give them something unique, why would they not want it? So who is going to come to an architect and say, make sure my building looks ordinary? Nobody is going to say it, no.
True that.
Right. No. So I just think that it's like, for example, if somebody comes and says, look, I think in my city, all the young people are very attracted to full glass buildings. Can you do a full glass building? Okay. So, yeah, I can. But then I will place the entire core and services on the entire western side and still block it. Still use good sustainable design principles, and then of course I'll try to convert the client also, saying, okay, what they're looking for is more modern. Does it really have to be only glass? So, but it's important to hear what the client is saying. You have to hear carefully and use your wisdom and judgment to negotiate that, to achieve what meets the client's aspiration. Because if that client needs to hire 5,000 BPO workers and they get attracted by slick buildings, then that is his reality. So I'm not saying then you turn around and say, okay, then fine, I'll make anything. No, you do. You have to consider that as a parameter as well. Right. And see how to make that come up as good architecture. And by good, if it doesn't involve sustainability, it's not good.
Not good. Yes. I think that I'll take that as a big lesson. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sonali.